Hi there, this is Dave Dubeau, and welcome to this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, for our business breakthrough, I'm going to be talking to you about the immense power of the list. Definitely want to be listening in for that. For our real estate tip, I'm going to be talking about unlocking the equity in your home to invest with, plus a few sneaky tricks the big banks do with your mortgages, with our mortgages, that were news to me, I just learned about recently. And then also for our Mindset Minute, I'm going to be talking about working with your competition instead of against them. Stay tuned. All right, the power of the list. What does that mean exactly? Well, the biggest mistake I see most small business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed professionals making is that they don't keep track of their current and past clients or customers. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. I've been doing this since day one, but it is news to a lot of small business owners. A customer comes in, buys something, that's great, customer leaves, and the business owner basically hopes that they'll come back sometime later, hopes that they'll refer somebody to them, hopes that they'll spread good word about their business or service. Got to tell you, it doesn't always happen. It's especially in today's very, very competitive market, you can't just rely on people remembering who you are and coming back to your business over and over again, unless you're somebody like Walmart, who's just basically advertising to the general public and the world all the time, or McDonald's. And even they are starting to get smarter about this. So if you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, independent professional, I highly recommend that you start keeping very, very, very good track of who your clients, customers, and prospects are. Start keeping their information in a list. And in the future, in the next few weeks, we'll be talking about how to communicate with that list and how to generate far more business and far more profits with it. We've heard this before. It's 7 times cheaper to sell something to a returning customer than to attract a new one in the first place. That's the power of the list. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do that. This has been the secret that has helped Darren Weeks and the Fast Track group of companies explode their business over the years. They've built up their list to well over 100,000 people, and they communicate with those folks on a regular basis. You should do that too, even if you've got a very small group of clients and customers. So that's your business breakthrough for this week. All right, so for this week's real estate tip, I want to talk to you a little bit about unlocking the equity in your home to invest in. So a lot of people have a lot of equity built up in their home that's just sitting there, that's just dead equity. So what does that mean? Let's say you have a home that's worth $400,000, your mortgage is paid down to $200,000. That means that you've got $200,000 of equity in that house, of wealth, but potential wealth just sitting there. And unless you're actually working it, doing something with it, it's just dead equity. So one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki talks about, that Darren Weeks talks about, that I encourage, is to start using that equity to invest in. Not to go out and buy doodads like motorhomes and big screen TVs and new vehicles and boats and that sort of thing, but to actually use it to invest in other things. And my preference is real estate, because once you know how to do real estate, you can make phenomenal returns on that far outweigh whatever the interest cost is to borrow that money. However, I just learned a couple of sneaky, downright dastardly things that the big banks do that I wasn't completely aware of before. We had a presentation at our recent Kamloops Real Estate Investment Club meeting by a couple of ladies that talked about a mortgage product out there, or home equity line of credit product that's out there. And one of the dirty tricks that the banks do, there's several, is they really encourage people to get 5-year terms on their mortgages. That's the most advantageous price range, the lowest interest, all that sort of thing, which is great, except they know full well ahead of time that on average, the average homeowner is either going to be moving or refinancing or doing something like that every 2.5 years. So what happens? If you refinance or change in the middle of your term, well, you get whacked with a big penalty for doing so. So they know that going in. That's why they encourage everybody to get that, so they can make their money not only off the interest, but off the penalties for doing that. The other thing is that they don't tell you about is every time you refinance, so let's say you've got a 25-year mortgage, you've been in your home for 5, 7 years, something like that. The value's gone up, so you decide to refinance and get some of that equity out. Well, if you do it the normal way, the way the banks encourage you to, you've just lost all of that mortgage pay down. That 7 years of your amortization has just been wiped out, because as soon as you refinance, you start from zero again. So you're starting the 25-year clock all over again moving forward. That's something they don't tell you about, something they don't want you to know about, and that's how they keep us in a perpetual locked-in situation with our finances. Now, it's fine if you understand it and you make it work for you, but most people don't, so it's important to be aware of that. The other sneaky trick that I just found out about that the mortgage companies and the banks do, when they encourage you to get mortgage insurance, it seems like a good idea. So let's say you're getting a $300,000 mortgage. You get insurance on that through the mortgage company. Basically, it's a life insurance policy. You get hit by a bus, the mortgage company gets $300,000 to pay off your mortgage. But what happens if you keep doing that for 5, 10, 15 years? Well, the thing is, they're going to get, let's say 15 years down the line, worst case scenario, you get hit by a truck and you pass away. What happens then? You've paid down your mortgage. Let's say it's gone from $300,000 down to $200,000. What happens? They still get the life insurance policy for $300,000 for you. So they don't give the extra $100,000 to your family, to your loved ones. They keep it. That's right. They get the full amount. So you've been paying all of this insurance all the time along for the full amount, and they get that no matter what you've paid your mortgage down to. Anyhow, a couple of pet peeves that I've got with the mortgage companies and the bank. So be aware of them. Know what you're doing when you sign on. I highly recommend you don't get mortgage insurance. Instead, you get a separate life insurance policy that'll cover the total amount of insurance, and the rest gets left to your friends, to your family and your loved ones when you pass away. Much smarter idea. That's your real estate tip for this week. All right, for this week's Mindset Minute, I want to just kind of shift your mind a little bit. And that's the idea of, instead of working tooth and nail to tear down your competition, which a lot of us competitive guys like to do, instead, why don't we switch our mind and look at how can we work with our competitors instead? This is a very, very powerful concept, because here's the long and the short of it. It doesn't matter what kind of business you're in, what kind of product or service you're offering, chances are you're going to have competition. And the thing is, whatever it is that you're offering is slightly different and attracts a slightly different clientele than whatever it is that your competition is offering. So here's one concept I learned from Jay Abraham, which is a very, very powerful concept. Robin J. Elliott teaches it as well, and that's working with your competition. So for example, let's say I've got a business, lawn services business, just for lack of a better idea that come to my mind right now. And I've got a lawn service business. I'm doing my marketing. I'm getting a certain number of prospects coming to me looking for lawn services. Well, for one reason or another, whatever it is, some people are going to like me, some people are going to like my offer, some people are going to want to work with me, but others aren't. It's just the way it is. It's the way life works. You're not going to be able to please everybody all the time. So let's say I get 10 prospects coming to me, 5 of them end up working with me, 5 of them don't. Well, the typical way small business people think about this is they will let those 5 that didn't work with them just kind of float away and go somewhere and be lost forever. But if you got smart, what if you actually recommended those 5 after you've tried everything to get them to come to you? What if you recommended them to your competition? That's right. What if you recommended them to somebody who's doing something very similar to you, but is different in some way, and will have a good chance at getting that person as a client? So you refer your not so much your non-qualified leads, but your non-converted leads to your competition. And let's say out of those 5 people, they're able to convert 2 of those into clients for them, and you get a 10 or a 20% ongoing commission on those clients from your competition. That's a win-win for both of you, because your competition's getting new customers in at 0 marketing cost because you refer them to them. You're getting paid a commission on work you're not even doing, done by your competition. And what if they both did it the same way around? So he's getting in 10 prospects. He's only able to convert 5 of them. He refers the other 5 to you. You're able to convert a couple of them. You pay him a commission, and it just works that way. Everybody's happy. Just one little idea there on how you can work with your competition instead of against them. All right, and this week I've just gotten back from my whirlwind trip. I spent some time in Kelowna with our business peak performers, spent some time in Edmonton with our real estate peak performers and our multifamily property boot camp, went to Baltimore for my mastermind session, went to Ottawa and spent some time with my good friend and one of our contributing writers, McLean, helping him to put together his own 6-hour book, and visited a friend out in Ottawa as well. Now I'm back in the swing of things. So speaking of 6-hour books, if you're interested in becoming an almost instant expert in creating your own book, I am holding a special Diamond member only getaway in August here in beautiful Kamloops, BC. And we're going to be doing a full day workshop on how to create your own book from scratch. The people that are coming into that are going to be able to walk away with an outline for their book, with everything that I do for creating a book in a very short period of time, plus all of my best contacts for putting together a book. I'm going to be walking away with all of that and a plan on how to do it exactly. If you want information on that, check out diamondgetaway.ca. You'll see that on the bottom of the screen. This week we also have a question that's come in from Sammy Valkama. So Sammy says, is it a good real estate deal if expenses exceed income only when calculating full lending cost, but when including principal payments as income, the deal makes money? Okay, good question, Sammy. So what he's asking is, okay, I want to buy this property. It's going to be a negative cash flow. So in other words, my expenses for paying the mortgage, the insurance, property taxes, all that kind of stuff, maintenance and that sort of thing, it's going to mean that I'm in the hole. I'm in negative cash flow month to month. But if I take into account the mortgage paying down when I'm paying that, it actually makes a bit of money. Okay, well, Sammy, that's a good question. My thought on that, Robert Kiyosaki's thought on that, quite often, Ken Beaton's thought on that most definitely is, if it's negative cash flow, it's negative cash flow. Might be okay as long as you can carry that, but again, it's a bit of speculation, isn't it? Because you're hoping for appreciation, you're hoping for other things, and in the meantime, you're coming out of pocket month after month to keep up the expenses on this property. So what happens if, heaven forbid, you lose your job, your income goes down, something goes wrong, and you can no longer afford to subsidize that property? Then you're in really, really big trouble. So I suggest that you look for properties that are cash flow positive, or at the very, very least, cash flow neutral, which means you're not really making any money, but you're not losing any money either. Because if you're going in the negative, sooner or later, it can definitely catch up with you. So thank you very much for your question, Sammy. Anybody out there, and we'll be sending you a free copy of our featured product for this month, just for sending in your question. If you have a question, please go ahead and fill out the questions or the comment section below, and we'll get to them as well. Or if you have a specific question, you can send that to marketing@resultsenterprises.com. All right, so thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode. For next week, we'll be talking a little bit more about creating your own list for our business breakthrough. For our real estate tips, we're going to be talking about pre-foreclosure properties versus foreclosure properties. And for our Mindset Minute, I'm going to be talking about follow-through. Have a good week. Enjoy your summer. Talk to you next week.